we're going to go ahead and let's start a mock draft. And guys, we usually do a couple of these a year, mostly because the Giants suck. We start looking forward to the draft in this time of year, but most teams are still talking about the end of the season and a playoff push. But here we are talking about it right again. Now, as of right now, we are officially the number one pick in the draft. Keep in mind, the Raiders haven't finished playing yet. If they win, I think they barely slip above us based on strength of schedule to number one. But people keep talking about what we do with the number overall pick and what we do with the second overall pick. So we're going to give a scenario here. Well, let's say hypothetically the Giants end up with the first overall pick, because it's a good possibility still, guys. Don't forget the Raiders still have to play the Jaguars next week. We're hoping for a Raider win if they can't pull it out today, even against the Falcons, which is right now not too bad. So
until safety.
There's been rumors all along that the Raiders really, really want Shedeur Sanders, and that Shedeur Sanders does not want to go to the Giants. Now, we have called BS on that rumor, point blank, and I will still call BS on that rumor until I hear something actually from Dion's camp or Shedeur's camp saying that it's true. But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's say we decided we don't see much of a difference between these two quarterbacks, or we like Cam Ward better. And we're number one overall. And the Las Vegas Raiders call us up and say, what would it take to give us the number one overall pick? And we'll give you back the number two pick. And that's exactly the scenario we worked with. So I went ahead and did a mock draft for us with Pro Football Network. We got in that trade. We gave up just the first overall pick. We got back in that pick number 2, 34, 66, 72, and next year's second. Guys, I got to be honest. If we were offered that, to turn that down, you'd have to be so sure of the quarterback that you're about to pick. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
That's a lot of goddamn picks, guys. That's a lot of goddamn picks. So let's get into who we're getting now with this schnikey load of picks, And obviously, second overall pick, we're going Cam Ward in that scenario.
100%.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's who we're getting. Shedeur Sanders goes to the Raiders. The Raiders have always wanted. We get Cam Ward. But now we got all these extra picks, guys. So pick number 33, our original second-round pick. We get Wyatt Milum, guard out of West Virginia. Bleacher Report said on him, Wyatt Milum is a 4-year starter at tackle inside West Virginia's run-heavy 60-40 run-pass split, multiple run scheme. Milum has a long torso, below-average arm length, and a well-rounded build with solid athletic ability and good play strength. So he's slated to play at the guard position here. Now, we have a couple of things we're going to need. We have to go ahead first off and fill the guard position potentially that Greg Van Roten's going to empty out when he leaves here if he does. But we also need depth. We need guys to go ahead and replace. We need guys who are able to play positions when guys get hurt. And what I liked about this is we're going ahead in this scenario and getting a guy who plays tackle and would be moving into guard, meaning that he has going to have some potential versatility at the offensive line. I love versatility on the offensive line. That's always been something I really enjoyed out of guys that play the line position. So they're projecting to be a guard in the NFL. He very well could potentially play tackle. But like I said, you're getting one of the best offensive linemen in this draft with that pick. Then we're going to pick number 34. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. And guys, we've been saying it all year long. We said it before this season even started, Rob and I. Our defensive line, besides Sexy Dexy, is an issue. We need some fresh bodies there. That's one thing that Giants have consistently done throughout the last, 20, 25 years is draft defensive linemen. I can go on and on the list of defensive linemen they've gotten. You know, the Linval Josephs of the world, going back to those days. You know, there's so many people that you can talk about that have been very good in this league for a long time that came from the Giants. The Jonathan Hankins, plenty of guys you can talk about there. So we're getting, like I said, Walter Nolan, Ole Miss, and Bleacher Report said on him. There's a lot to like about Walter Nolan's game. He's big, physical, and strong with impressive movement skills that should translate well to the NFL. And he is. He's a little more of an athletic guy for his size than you would think. And like I said, I think it's exactly what we need is some more talented bodies on that defensive line. Not just bodies.
Yeah.
Talented bodies. You know, enough of these 6th, 7th round free agents and all this kind of stuff. Like, you need to get actual talent on that position. You can't just keep on counting on Dexter Lawrence to do it all.
Yeah, some natural talent, like the way this guy moves, and some actual like talent in football to play.
Yep.
Which this guy's got both.
Exactly.
You don't have to do too much training. You just got to do some coaching.
Exactly, and they're all going to need coaching. The rookies, that's life.
Well, I'm just saying, like some guys, you take a position, there might be a diverse player that you're going to send it to one. You're going to do more training than besides coaching at it. Like instead of like, hey, just you need to do this and you do that. Like instead of like, oh, we're going to reteach you this position how to play it, or you're going to learn this position. Like how many times we pick up let's say the running back, or we'll say the guy was a run, or he was a tight end. It was too small or too big, and we moved to another spot, or receiver that get converted over.
Oh yeah,
we learn in a brand new position. We do it all the time, and it's not just those positions. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
you do that with a guard. The guy might be an internal line guy, or might be, or especially on defense. Who knows? You could be an edge, and you put him inside, and it changes everything.
Yeah, and obviously he's not going to play the nose tackle position that would stick to Dexter Lawrence, but
100%.
On a 3-4 defensive line, this guy would be a nice athletic fit, I think, on this team. Round 3. And if I remember correctly, I have to go back to our prior mock draft we did, our way too early mock draft. I think we took this guy then too. And that's Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. Draft Network says in his 3rd season with the Iowa Hawkeyes, Caleb Johnson has already solidified himself as one of the best backs in the Big Ten. Running the ball within a pro run scheme shows that Johnson is ready for the next level and projects as a valuable asset to our organization's running back room. Now, what I like about this guy is he's more of a north to south kind of runner. Whereas obviously we have Tyrone Tracy, who, don't get me wrong, will run north to south, and he's very good about falling forward, not taking negative yards. But he's also got some speed to him. I think Caleb Johnson would be a nice change of pace kind of guy to throw in there. Because, let's be honest here, Devin Singletary is probably gone at the end of the year.
100%.
I think that'll be a mutual decision, one of those kind of situations there. But even if he's not, he's there for only one more year. We need someone else. Because Eric Gray is poop. I'm sorry. He's not good. And you throw that into the fact that Dante Turbo Miller hasn't gotten any time whatsoever, which tells you the one of two things, that he's not ready or he's not ever going to be ready. I should say a third thing, that the coaching staff just didn't know how to evaluate him. That's a possibility, I guess. But it's a running back. Yeah. It's you don't see that as often, the running back. Running back's a little more cut and dry, like he's good or he's not good.
Yeah.
So we go to pick 66, which is the pick we got in this trade here. We got Kyle Kennard, edge out of South Carolina. And Draft Network says Kyle Kennard is a 5th-year senior who spent the first 4 years of his collegiate career at Georgia Tech before transferring to South Carolina for the 24 season. At South Carolina, Kennard has had his most productive season as a pass rusher and has hit the ground running as one of the most impactful players for the South Carolina program that has played much better than expected football throughout the season. Kennard has showcased his explosiveness, physicality, and high motor, which appear to help set the tone for one of the best defensive fronts in college football. Kennard's relentless motor and effort set the stage for him to be productive in both the run game and as a pass rusher. There's a guy who perfectly replaces, in my mind, Azeez Ojulari. who we very well could lose this offseason. But even if we don't lose, let's say hypothetically, Azeez Ojulari, we can somehow get him back because the injuries are there. Like we can potentially keep him because of the injuries, and it's going to lower his price. Ojulari is a pass rusher. That's all he is. He is not a run stopper. He's not a true edge. He is a pass rush specialist, and that's how he should be used. Kennard plays the run and the pass, and he's a guy that we could develop. So when it comes down to make a decision on Kayvon Thibodeau, you're developing a guy in case you decide against Thibodeau. Because I'm not so positive Thibodeau gets another contract with the Giants the way things are going right now. You know, he hasn't played well this year, let's be honest.
No.
Extremely he was supposed to be guy, extremely athletic guy, but has not played well this year. And we all know his sacks last year were a little fugazi because he had such a huge win rate.
I was about to say, I mean, also, what do you have, 9 against Commanders? Like, it felt like it.
It felt like it was the Commanders and the Jets were like half his sacks in the season. It was insane. So, you know, like I said, I just not sold on him yet. And I'm not going to give a bunch of money to a player that I'm not sold on, you know, and he's going into the year 4 next year. So you're going to have him for 1 or 2 more years before you got to make that decision. So why not draft a guy now that is best case scenario, a good backup edge? We haven't had a lot of edge backup. Or best case scenario, the guy that you're training up to take Kayvon's place. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. I think that's you're thinking ahead. You're plotting ahead. And that's what you're supposed to do in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, we've been saying that for the past couple of years, but like, look what the Eagles have done well for the past decade at this point. They've always drafted good replacements.
Yep.
Have they always drafted the best? No, but like when you got the depth like on your field, you can start drafting replacements. Yeah. Keep your salary cap down and overpay your quarterback.
Well, it's also your depth. Your depth becomes your replacements, and that's what you do. You're training them to eventually take over when the guy wants more money than you want to spend. And we've already paying $30 million a year to Brian Burns. We can't pay $60 million to him and Thibodeau. Not going to happen.
That'd be crazy talk.
Absolutely insane. So, pick number 72, the last pick we got in the trade here. Keep in mind, we also get a second rounder next year, though. We got Tate Ratledge, guard out of Georgia. And I know I'm doubling up here, guys, and I'm going to fair warn you guys. This is not the only position we doubled up on. If you don't think offensive line depth is important and an issue, I beg you to look at our starting lineup from Sunday. We have had issues left and right. And let's be honest, we have plenty of people we've drafted that have been poop. Whoever is scouting offensive linemen for the Giants needs to stop. And it's weird because we're so good at picking defensive linemen usually. Even the group we have now, if you think about it, these guys are like undrafted free agents, 6th, 7th round picks. Like it's not like we got the minimal production we're getting out of these guys, and they were like 1st or 2nd round picks. For whatever reason, the Giants have been very good, like I said, at defensive line, horrible to offensive line. But here's what they said on Ratledge here. It said, throughout his college career, Ratledge has been a key contributor to Georgia's offensive success. In 2023, he was part of the offensive line that ranked 1st in the SEC and 7th nationally in sacks allowed. His performance helped Georgia's offense finish 2nd in the SEC and 5th in the nation in total offense, offensive pass efficiency, and scoring offense. Ratledge's consistency is evident in his career stats, allowing 1 sack and committing just 3 penalties over 1,581 snaps. That's according to NFL Draft Buzz. Now, again, y'all know if you've been listening or watching for a few years, I'm a big proponent of getting people from big schools. They're more NFL ready. Georgia is one of those. Plus, he'd had a fellow Bulldog and Andrew Thomas, obviously, on the roster as well. Not that they play together, but you know he's going to take him under his wing at that point, you know? Just saying. It seems to be, a potential helper there for him as well. So, all right, let's get into round 4. Now, round 4, we got 2 picks that own. And I'm doubling down. Fair warning. I'm doubling down in round 4 for both of our picks, the same position. Because there's a position that we have huge need on that we have not talked about yet. And that's corner. Now, fair warning, because I know somebody's like, wait a minute, we waited so long to get a corner. In every single offseason plan I have in my mind, we're getting a number 1 corner, or at least a starting caliber corner in free agency. That is a necessity for this season. I'm sorry. It's absolute necessity this offseason to get. You don't wait till, right before week 1 and go get a Dory Jackson again.
Jeez.
You don't do it. So, pick number 102, Damani Jackson, cornerback out of Alabama. And Bleacher Report said,
freaking Bama.
Roll Tide. Damani Jackson is a long, lean, and explosive cornerback prospect with the ideal frame for the position. A technician with solid athletic traits, Jackson offers versatility in both press and off coverage, along with the ball skills needed to make plays at the next level. I don't know about y'all, but when I hear things like, perfect size, athletic traits, plays press, plays man, ball skills, all good things. Now, this kid does have some issues as far as his form, as far as his technique. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens this offseason, but I have a lot of faith in Jerome Henderson. Always have. Look what he's done with Tyler Newman. Look what he's done with Drew Phillips this year. He is a very good secondary coach.
Yeah.
Give him some young talent. Let's see what he can do with it. But not just any young talent. Not ones that have an attitude from Maryland, not saying who. Not ones that are hyped up 6-round picks that people think of the JPP of cornerbacks. I'm just saying, you have to if you want to really build a young corner room, you build guys that are hungry. You build with guys that are a lot of mid-round picks, not 6-round picks, mid-round picks, and you get it going. 4th round is not a bad spot to get corners. It's not that much further down that we got Drew Phillips, who a lot of people say would be point blank potentially a 1st-round pick the way he's playing. So
it's fair to say.
We get Jackson, and then we double down, pick 134. We get Kobe Bryant. Not that Kobe Bryant or the other Kobe Bryant, because there is 2 Kobe Bryants, of course, the ex-Laker who's passed, and we also have the one who plays for the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to get very confusing if we play the Seattle Seahawks ever.
Oh, geez.
So Kobe Bryant, corner out of Kansas, and NFL Draft Buzz says Bryant's versatility and ability to create turnovers make him an interesting prospect for NFL secondaries. He can play both in man and zone coverage, and his experience in both systems could appeal to defensive coordinators. Again, I'm looking for guys who can play press or man. I'm looking for guys who make big plays, because guess what we're missing this year, guys? Big plays in the secondary. So I'm specifically looking for guys who do that kind of work. And luckily they happen to be popping up where we're at. So we're going to round 5.
Round 5.
And we're doubling up again, guys. We're following, and I never thought I'd say this, we're following the Washington technique.
Ooh.
Round 5, pick 154. Curtis Rourke, quarterback out of Indiana. Because I don't know about y'all, but I don't think there's a single quarterback on this roster right now that will be there next year.
No.
I do not.
Not at all.
He happened to be down here. It was a little homage to Dash. Of course, Dash of Big Dash Knows was on with us talking about quarterbacks a couple weeks ago, and he's a big fan of Rourke's game. But, here's a guy you can bring in that you put him on the active roster, but you keep him as your emergency quarterback. We obviously got Cam Ward in this scenario. We're going to get probably a veteran quarterback as well. Here's your guy that you're training for a year to be your backup. That's what he's going to be. And I like that because it's a cheap backup. It's a guy you'll have 3 years of as a backup with costing you practically nothing. And let's say Cam Ward gets injured. Well, you have a young guy that you can go ahead and see what he can do. And one of 2 things will happen. Either he'll prove to you he's not a starter, which is what you're expecting out of a 5th round pick, or he'll surprise you and be a starter, and he is a great trade bait.
Yep.
There's no way this goes wrong for a 5th round pick. 5th round picks flame out all the time. You don't expect anything of them. So, speaking of picks you don't expect much of, 7th round. We're down to. I know it's mean. It's a truth though. Pick 216, Malik Verdon, safety out of Iowa State. Again, we are just loading up the secondary, guys, because we have a lot of guys that I'm feeling are going to be on the way outs at the end of this year. And then College Net Worth says, analysts suggest he may be selected in the mid to late rounds, depending on team needs and draft strategies. His potential to excel as a professional safety or corner is supported by a strong track record at Iowa State. With continued development, Verdon could be a reliable contributor at the next level. And you notice what they're saying, continued development. This is another guy who has the athletic skills, doesn't necessarily have the technique and that kind of stuff down quite yet there. Got some flaws there. You can fix that. You can work with that. You can't teach speed. You got speed, or you don't got speed. You can't teach strength. You have strength, or you don't have strength. But you can teach technique. And here's a guy who's played safety, played corner. He's a perfect guy to bring in like a nickel dime kind of package at that point, who can play multiple spots like that. And that's what you're expecting out of a 7th round, is a guy who hopefully can develop into that kind of role. Because if you're drafting somebody in the 7th round to be your number 1 overall like corner, you're crazy.
You got messed up.
Yeah, that's a big mistake, obviously. But if you're looking for a guy who could be a bottom of your roster kind of guy who can come in and play a little safety, play a little corner, play a little special teams, that's what the 7th round picks are for. And that's who you got. So, last pick, guys. 244. Tyreen Powell, linebacker, Rutgers University. We got the local kid here. Draft Network says Tyreen Powell offers a unicorn build at the linebacker position, which he does not have a horn, just for the record. No horn.
How do you know?
I don't want to know. His height and length create multiple issues for opposing offenses to plan for. He's a plus level coverage defender with man and zone capabilities. Powell offers versatility to the 2nd level of a defense. Now, again, 7th round pick. You're seeing about a guy who's got speed, and he's a linebacker. That's the perfect guys for special teams success. And if he shocks you and does more than that, then great.
Yeah, he'd be a good backup in this league.
Listen,
fantastic.
You heard what they were talking about, his coverage ability. We've had coverage linebacker issues going back to 1932, it seems like.
Just about.
So, you know what? If he's more than what we think and we're wrong, great. But worst case scenario, he has all the tools to be a good special teamer at the NFL level. And that's what I'm looking for in the 7th round, guys who contribute somehow from that 7th round position there. So, again, we got starting quarterback, eventual starting quarterback. We'll see if we start the season. We get one of the top guards in the draft. We get a starting defensive lineman, one of the top ones in the draft. We get a running back that is a good complement to Tyrone Tracy Jr. We get a good edge depth player at that point that could develop eventually and take over and go to a starter position. We have another guard at that point that we're getting here that's going to give us some depth here piece. We got 2 corners to give us depth piece. We got a guy that we can build to be our backup quarterback here potentially. And we got 2 guys in the 7th round that, we'll see what they are. I'm never too high on 7th round guys, but, you see where they can develop it. Guys that at least have, the skills at that point to go ahead and be something on special teams. And we'll see what they would develop into. So, Rob, what do you think?
Listen, for a lot of the same reasons like you just said, we don't have depth. Our secondary is dismal. Our quarterback room is going to be gonzo. So, yeah, you want some cheap options on how to do this. You go ahead, you get yourself 2 quarterbacks in your draft. Just like you said, do the Washington approach. It's almost kind of also the same thing as what Atlanta did, only they overpaid their starting quarterback, who they're going to then waste their 1st round pick on and trade up for. So that's a nice move. But this is a little smarter, a little cheaper, and you're not wasting as much draft capital.
Yep.
And then same thing with your secondary. You're going to start there and draft a whole bunch of guys, get them cheap. You're going to pick up a bridge corner, possibly a bridge quarterback. And you just saved yourself a buttload of money on cap. And you're starting fresh. You want to talk about what a rebuild is? You add a new coach, a new GM. That's what's called a rebuild.
Yep.
You're starting with some depth as well.
That is 100% a rebuild right there. So, guys, let us know in the comments what you think. We'll get to all the comments here in a minute. We're done paying the bills here, but that are live at least with us while we shoot this live. But those are later on watching this, just the video segment of the video later on. Let us know your thoughts there on this, and what would you do in this scenario? Would you take that draft trade? Do you like Shedeur Sanders that much, or what would you do if you were whoever's going to be the GM for the Giants there?
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you.